Hey, it's Bruce coming to you once again with WeedersDigest.com. And sometimes I consider myself to be somewhat the roving reporter for lakes. And today I want to show you a little bit about the aftermath of a storm. And we had a storm just yesterday. So I'm shooting this video showing how there's the runoff as the melt happens going through the storm, down the curb, through the storm drain, and then out onto the lake. This is just literally about a block and a half from my house. And so as that goes out there, you can see that's not normal water. That is pollution. And, pollution's a pretty broad term. But we know that in our environment that a lot of salt and a lot of chloride is put onto our roads to, protect people when they're driving. But look at what that does on a lake. Now, you might look at it and say, well, that looks nasty, and that would make sense because it's road runoff, and there's going to be oil and uh, sand and salt and all those type of things that would be mixed in there. But in actuality, let me tell you this: that you've seen, if you're a Minnesotan, or if you're from the northern states, you know how much salt gets put on the roads, and we typically see it. Sometimes you see it almost getting poured out. And at $70 a ton, from what I'm told, that's cheap. That's a good way to ensure safety for the residents of a city. So it did make good sense in the past. Now they've become very, very concerned about that because what you're seeing out there on my lake, and this is, again, at our public access just down the way from me, that 1 teaspoon, this is what I'm told through the Pollution Control Agency, 1 teaspoon of salt will kill, and I think that's the best way to state it, is will kill 5 gallons of water. And so that water, because the water is infected with the salt, becomes toxic. It sits on the bottom of the lake, and when it sits on the bottom of the lake, there's no oxygen in it. And so when it mixes up with the water, that 1 teaspoon of salt kills 5 gallons of water. That 5 gallons of water, because it's heavier, lays on the bottom of the lake. When it lays on the bottom of the lake, there's no oxygen. And so there's no organism to break that down. So, what was poured on our roads 10 years ago is still in the bottom of our lakes. It's a tragic situation, but fortunately, a lot of cities and a lot of states have begun dramatically reducing that. Around our lake, they actually do some holding ponds, and you'll see right here. There's a holding pond just literally, well, you can see that's probably 150, 200 feet from our lake. So there are things being done, and I would encourage you to check out, one of my neighbor does a national symposium called the Road Salt Symposium, and she is probably the foremost authority at solving this issue around the country. So, just do a Google search on Fortin Consulting, or do a Road Salt Symposium, and you'll save your lake, and it'll be a great thing for our environment. Check it out. I'm Bruce with WeedersDigest.com.